Hello, it's Mrs. Smith as Register. Today I will be presenting our data loss prevention DLP frameworks and best practices with a student example. And first of all, my student ID is AMB201005 and my group member name is Sudiksha Register. She will be presenting over the frameworks 2 from the frameworks 2, and her student ID is VAP2060. Moving toward the first slide, we have the introduction about the DLP, which is like data loss prevention. DLP stands for data loss prevention, as I said earlier, which is a set of strategies and tools to ensure that the sensitive data is not lost, misused, or accessed by unauthorized user. It has been like varieties of tactics or instruments and procedure. It can be prevented through the prevention methods or the activities. Moving to the next slides, I have importance of DLP in today's digital landscape. Like in today's digital area, like data can be misused or misplaced, so it can be prevent through different types of methods. We have like financial losses, legal issues, and reputational damage. DLP helps to prevent such breaches and ensures the compliance with regulations like GDPR and Australian Privacy Act. Moving to the next slide, I have Australian specific needs and regulatory landscape. Australia has its own data protection law, which includes Australian privacy principles, which stand for APPS, and the notifiable data breaches scheme. This law requires companies to handle personal data carefully and notifies individuals if breaches occur. Moving towards the next slide, I have the various types of data loss. Among them, three of them are mentioned on the slides. First one is accidental data. Accidental data occurs when the devices like laptops or mobiles or USB drives containing sensitive informations are being misplaced or misused in the companies or organization. For example, a employee leaving a laptop with the customer data on public transport. Second one is malicious loss. It is a insider threats and external cyber attack. This could be an insider stealing data or the cyber attack like taking the data through threads or something like that. The third one is natural disaster. Natural disasters such as floods or fire can also lead to data loss by physically damaging data centers. This is why organizations need to get back to systems and discover recovery plans to those data loss to get back up. Moving to the next slide, I have the DLP frameworks. It is an overview of DLP frameworks, the purpose and structure of DLP frameworks. DLP frameworks provide structured approaches to protect sensitive data by identifying the data, implementing rules and regulation for handling it, and continuously monitoring for the breaches. It ensures data is protected while aligning with the business goals and regulations. Moving to the next slide, I have the importance of aligning DLP with the business objective. A successful DLP frameworks must integrate with the business processes so that it can be securely measures and don't interrupt or operational records. This requires collaboration between the IT, compliance, and business terms. Moving toward the next slides, I have the key components of DLP, which you can see on the screen, like data identifications and clarifications, policy enforcement, monitoring and reporting, data identification and clarification, knowing what sensitive data you have and where it is, policy enforcement, defining and authorizing rules and to control how data is accessed and shared. And the third one, monitoring and reporting. It is continuously monitor data flow and reporting on the potential and the violations or the breaches. Moving toward the fifth slides, I have the frameworks for Australian privacy principles, which also stand as APPS. For the introduction to APPS, we have the Australian privacy principle, which are the parts of Privacy Act 1988, which offers a throughout framework for the protection of data in the country or the outside the country. along with the frameworks is approved practices, which is applicable for the smaller companies for handling various types of health data as well as the government data, which can be used for the various purposes. Moving to the next slide, I have the key principle related to DLP. First one is Principle 6, which restrict law personal information and can be used only for the data which can be intended for the purposes. For example, implementations and Australian financial might also use for that one. Second one is Principle 11, security of personal information, which is mandatory for the organization. And the fifth one and the for the last one is an Australian bank might implement for its. For the next slide, I have explanation for the framework. I would like to call my friend Sudiksha Shrestha.
Hi, my name is Sudiksha Shrestha, student ID number BAP2060. Today I will be discussing on data loss prevention in the context of Essential 8 framework. As my friend discussed on other frameworks, we'll explore the key strategies, real-world applications, and the best practices for implementing this effectively, especially in Australia. Let's begin with an introduction to an Essential 8. Here comes with my slides. The Essential 8 was developed by the Australian Cybersecurity Centre to help organizations mitigate cybersecurity threats. These strategies are aimed at strengthening defenses against data breaches and ensuring the security of sensitive information. They include measures like patching applications and operating systems using multi-factor authentication and more. Now here are the Essential 8 mitigation strategies. As you can see in the screen, it's patch application, patch operating system, multi-factor application, restrictive administrative privileges, application control, restrict Microsoft Office macros, user application hardening, and regular backups. Let's briefly touch on these components. Each strategy addresses a specific aspect of cybersecurity. For example, patching up applications and operating systems ensures the vulnerabilities are fixed, while applications controls restricts the execution of unauthorized software. Together, these strategies provide a comprehensive framework for the data protection. Coming to the next slide, it has a DLP Essential 8. It is a strategy, so it controls application whitelisting, patching application, configuring Microsoft macros, and data breach prevention. So application whitelisting is one of the most effective strategies for data loss prevention. It ensures that only approved application can run on a system and preventing unauthorized or the malicious software from executing. This is crucial in preventing unauthorized programs for accessing or leaking data sensitive data. So coming into regular updating software to fix vulnerabilities and timely patching help prevent data breaches. Patching applications is another critical aspect of DLP. Outdated software often contains vulnerabilities that attackers can exploit. By keeping the software up to date, organizations can significantly reduce the risk of data breaches. This strategy is particularly important in sectors like finance, where the cost of data breach can be substantial. So coming into configuring the Microsoft Office macros is also essential for preventing the data loss. By preventing unauthorized macros from running, organizations can safeguard the sensitive information from the compromise. To see the strategies in action, let's look at the government agency that implemented an Essential 8 by focusing on the application whitelisting and strict macro policies. They were able to reduce the data breaches by 75% over the course of the year. This demonstrates the real world effectiveness of the Essential 8 framework. Coming to the next one, it's best practices for DLP in Australia. As you can see in the slides, we will discuss about encryption is crucial in protecting data both in the transit and the rest. Regular audits help identify vulnerabilities, while employee training ensures that the staff understand how to follow the DLP policies. These three practices work together to create a robust defense against data losses. There is an example of the health case provider case study. Uh, Let us come here. A great example of these practices in action come from an Australian healthcare provider. They implement encryption and regular training sessions, leading to a 60% reduction in security incidents. Additionally, regular audits help them identify them to mitigate the potential threat before they could lead to the data losses. Coming to the challenges in DLP. Despite the benefits, implementing DLP comes with the challenges. First, there are balance between the security and accessibility of the organization, need to secure the data without daily disruption of the operation, compliance with the regulations like Australian privacy and the GDPR can also be complex. Finally, the cost and resource allocation can be a challenge, especially for the small businesses that may not have a large security budgets. Coming to and coming to the conclusion of this more on DLP. So, in conclusion, I want to say that implementing robust DLP frameworks like Essential 8 is essential for protecting sensitive information, particularly in sectors where the data security is critical. As the cyber threat landscape evolves, organizations must continuously adapt their DLP strategies to stay ahead of the new threats. By doing so, they can better protect against the data breaches and other cybersecurity risks. Thank you.